What's up, losers? NWN here, aka the Honorable Black Hokage, also known as the leader of the village hidden in the Chronicles. And before we get into this list, I want to get some things straight. This list is probably gonna piss some people off due to the fact that I didn't pick the same games as mainstream media. I picked games that I liked, not games that had the most hype. So I don't want it to be a mystery, and I'm just gonna come out and say it. Grand Theft Auto 5 and BioShock Infinite are not in my top 10. Now, if I made a top 15 or top 20, then yeah, they'd be on it, which takes me to point number 1. The way this list was constructed is, I chose games that I had the most fun with. Games that never felt like a chore to play because I got bored with it. I got bored halfway through Grand Theft Auto 5 and BioShock, so they got cut from the list. Point number 2, if you did not play at least 5 games in 2013, please do not comment on my video talking about what you think is Game of the Year. Reason being is, you're basing your opinion off what other people told you like IGN and GameSpot. You didn't play shit this year. If all you bought was Call of Duty, Madden, and Grand Theft Auto 5 in 2013, then of course by default, Grand Theft Auto is gonna be your Game of the Year. Hype beast, fuck off. Point number 3. This is just my opinion. In no way do I think this video represents the gaming industry as a whole. With that being said, hopefully you enjoy my list and it'll open your eyes to some games that you might have missed in 2013 that I thought were great, but just didn't have the hype. Enjoy. Treat people the way that you want to be treated. Except for in Call of Duty, you can talk shit, that's cool. I needed to be the black ash catcher. It was my destiny to be the Negro catcher. But let's talk about why all white people look like spoiled milk when they take their clothes off. ModernWarNegro. Step 1, get money. Step 2, repeat step 1. Number 10. Warframe. Warframe is a game that takes place in the far future. You play as some space ninjas known as Tenno who are out to stop the Grineer, who are a violent alien race rapidly spreading across the galaxy. The game is still in beta, so that's about as deep as the story goes. Now, the gameplay consists of you tearing through worlds, destroying all these Grineer, all while upgrading your weapons, swords, and abilities. There are dozens of Tennos to choose from, all with different fighting styles, plus there are boss fights. Best of all is, this game is free. The game isn't that deep, but it's very fun to play with a group of friends. You'll find yourself playing hours upon hours with buddies in co-op just shooting the shit. Another thing that I liked is the devs are very active in this game. They listen to the community in their forums, and there's new updates almost weekly to improve the game. This is something you don't see too often, and it should be praised. EA and Activision could take a page from Digital Extreme's book. Like I said though, this game is still in beta, and the campaign will be eventually added in the future. But even though it's light on the story, the fact that I still managed to clock in 41 hours into this game, and JG and Tick both clocked in over 200 hours in 2013 speaks volumes. It speaks volumes because keep in mind that I reviewed 29 games in 2013 but still managed to garner 41 hours on Warframe. That's a lot of time for someone who doesn't have a lot of free time. So grab some buddies and check out Warframe. It's a free and it's a great time killer. Number 9. Injustice, Gods Among Us. Look, I'm not a big fighting game fan, mainly because I suck, and I suck mainly because I don't want to take the time to learn how to play. But I am a sucker for superheroes, and Injustice, Gods Among Us is a comic book fan's dream of a god true. The fighting is solid, and that's because it's developed by the same team who brought us Mortal Kombat. And what I loved about the combat is, it not only catered to the hardcore fighting fan, but also the casual fighting fan like me. The game lowers the barrier to entry by allowing you to pause the game at any point and putting your favorite attacks on the screen so that you can learn them quicker. Think of it as a cheat sheet and a faster way to master your character. This helped me from getting my ass kicked every time that I went online. So kudos to the devs for taking the time out to teach the little guy like me how to play. But the highlight of the whole game is the story. That's crazy, right? When's the last time you heard someone praise a fighting game for its story mode? The campaign is a big what-if story starring the entire DC universe. Superman has turned into an evil tyrant, fucking everybody up who opposes him, and of course Batman builds up his own squad to try to take him down. And of course it does go deeper than that, and the game even explains why someone like the Joker with no powers can fight someone like Green Lantern. Overall, this is just a well thought out fighter, and I think you'll enjoy it. Number 8. Brothers, The Tale of Two. Now this is a game that I convinced myself that I wouldn't like upon its initial release, but after it got so many glowing reviews and I caught it on sale for $4 on Steam, shout out to them Steam sales, I figured, why not? Brother is a tale of two brothers who are trying to help their ill father. They must travel across the country in order to acquire these special leads needed to heal their dad. Along the way, you'll face numerous obstacles, puzzles, and antagonists who are trying to keep you from the promised land. The game's control scheme is something that I've never seen before, and it's refreshing. The left analog stick controls the big brother who has certain abilities, and the right analog stick controls the little brother who has special abilities. And I quote GameSpot, "It's like trying to pat your head and rub your tummy at the same time." The game constantly tests your ability to multitask with its puzzles. None of them are hard to solve, but instead the puzzles test your hand and eye coordination. This game is also the most unique on the list because it's very tranquil. It's a very relaxing game, almost like meditation. You can't just help but smile while playing it. Number 7. Planetside 2. This game was released in 2012, but I didn't get around to playing it until early 2013. Now what I found is a first-person shooter experience that can only be found in Planetside 2. PS2 is a multiplayer only game. It's an MMO FPS, meaning large scale battles. First you choose what faction you want to join, each with their own strengths and weaknesses. Next you pick a server. Now each server has 3 continents. Each continent can hold up to 2,000 players. Do the math, that's 6,000 motherfucking soldiers in one game. Not to mention there are planes, tanks, ATVs, and tons of different weapons and classes with their own strengths and weaknesses. The game is just one big game of Battlefield 4 conquest. Move from base to base trying to capture the entire continent while duking it out with other factions. Conquer all 3 continents and you win the game. You will experience battles only possible in this game. A lot of times it feels like the D-Day scene in Saving Private Ryan, and when your platoon works together to take the base, it is so satisfying to know how hard the fight was that you won. This is the first free-to-play game that I spent money on. I became that addicted to the game at one point. I've clocked 85 hours into this game, which is a lot for someone, need I remind you, reviewed 29 games in 2013. Make sure you watch the tutorials the game provides so that you know how to play each class too. Also make sure you're playing with friends or you join a random platoon, as the game is far more fun working within an organized team because it is large scale war. Another thing I have to praise in this game is its netcode. It's 2,000 people on a screen at once and I never lag. I repeat, I never lag. There's great hit detection as well too. This is a technical marvel. How the hell does Call of Duty struggle with 6v6 matches, but Planetside 2's 1,000 vs 1,000 matches works flawlessly? This game's one shortcoming is it's hard to win. Often it felt like you were fighting for nothing because you can't lock down continents after capturing them, so it felt like you were fighting an endless war. This is what led to me losing interest ultimately, but I've recently gotten back into it because a big patch is coming out in the near future addressing this issue. After the patches are released, you'll be able to lock down continents so it'll be easier to win. This game is free to play and I highly suggest you check it out. And I almost forgot to mention, this is one of the most gorgeous games in my Steam library. Number 6. Project Cross Zone. Project Cross Zone is a 3DS exclusive that wasn't covered that much in the US by the media, and the few reviews that I could find were met with lukewarm to average scores. And guess what? I don't care, I don't care, I don't care, I don't care, I don't care. I like this game. The story makes no damn sense, but that's the charm of it all. For some reason, dimensions are tearing and causing different characters from different universes to meet and team up and stop the evil that's causing this. This game features every damn character from Sega, Namco, and Capcom. You get to see Ryu team up with Mega Man, Jin Kazama, Dante from Devil May Cry, that dancing chick with the pink hair from Dreamcast. It's so many damn characters in this game. You just can't wait to see who's going to make a next appearance, okay? The gameplay, it's Final Fantasy Tactics with more style than flair. You move around a grid, and when in combat, you can do all these flashy combos and special attacks. If you're looking for something new to play on your 3DS, look no further than Project Cross Zone. I mean, who doesn't want to see Frank West fight alongside Cosmos? I mean, come on, that shit is cool. Number 5. Sly Cooper, Thieves in Time. Now, how many of you didn't know a new Sly Cooper game came out in 2013 that was just as good as the previous games? Blame Sony's lack of advertising for that. Someone has stolen Sly's family history, so the Koopa gang travels back in time where Sly gets to recruit ancestors from different eras to help him recover it. You'll be going to the Old West, the Ice Age, feudal Japan, and more, where you'll be running, jumping, sneaking, stealing, and kicking ass to solve the mystery. The game retains its silly charm, so you can't help but smile the whole way through the game. Now, I admit, I love this game more so for the nostalgia reasons. It just took me back to a time when games were more silly and just plain fun versus everything being a murder simulator these days. Sly Cooper is just good old-fashioned gaming, and if that's something you're looking for, check out Thieves in Time. Number 4. Rayman Legends. And the most creative platformer of the year award goes to this game. No game in 2013 is touching Rayman Legends when it comes to level design. It's fast-paced, fluid, and gorgeous. What's not to love? No two levels are the same. There are new obstacles and paths constantly being thrown your way, and the pacing of it all never makes for a dull moment. The story, though, it's pretty dumb and irrelevant. These blue monsters have been captured by a witch, and it's up to Rayman and his friends to rescue them all. I mean, the story did nothing for me. But purely from a gameplay standpoint, this game is simply fun. Super Mario 3D World was cool, but Rayman Legends takes the crown for the best platformer of the year. Number 3. Tomb Raider. Now, I admittedly never been a Tomb Raider fan. I mean, I always thought the games were boring and clunky. Plus, I never understood the sex appeal of a woman with cute boobs, but when I saw the reveal trailer for the Tomb Raider reboot, I was all over this joint. This time around, it's an origin story that follows Lara and her friends who end up shipwrecked on a haunted island that's run by this gang. You'll be running, climbing, shooting, and fighting to solve the mystery of the island like Scooby and the gang. You watch Lara go from a typical clueless white girl to a full-blown killer, and that's also one of my issues with the game. I mean, the first hour, you're totally helpless, and by the second, you're a full-blown serial killer. The lack of growth was rather strange, and it's also strange that the game is called Tomb Raider, yet you only raid like 3 tombs in the game. Now, the few that you do raid, I thoroughly enjoyed the puzzles, surprisingly, and hopefully they'll incorporate more in the sequel. As for that multiplayer, yeah, we don't talk about that. So instead, let's talk about how fun it is to light someone on fire with a fire arrow. Number 2.
A little more and I'm marrying you, Angel.
Metro Last Light. Now, a lot of people slept on this game, and I'm not sure why, because it's one of the best shooters that I've played in a while. Last Light is a sequel to 2033. You're living in a post-apocalyptic world where the surface is uninhabitable due to radiation and monsters everywhere. Factions are formed where they fight for resources, and everyone lives underground using the Metro subway system to get around, thus the name Metro. The gameplay gives you the option to tackle it how you see fit. You can go in guns blazing, but it's going to be tougher in a room full of enemies. Or you can go in quietly, shooting out the lights, turning off circuit breakers, throwing knives and more to make it a little bit easier. Think of it as a first-person Splinter Cell minus all the climbing on the pipes and stuff. The game is a technical marvel as well. This is hands down the best looking game in 2013. This is the only game that crashed my PC due to the strain that it put on it when ultra settings were applied. Not even Crysis 3 could do that, and because the presentation is done so well, it makes the game incredibly eerie and atmospheric, especially during the surface and the tunnel sections. Little creepy monsters constantly making noises and crawling around you, waiting in the pocket to jump out and scare your ass. I found myself constantly doing 180s asking myself, what was that? Number 1.
You'll keep me afloat.
Ellie!
The Last of Us.
No time to argue.
Ellie! Damn it!
Now, rarely do I agree with what most people have to say because most people are sheep and can't actually form their own opinions. But this time around, I'm gonna have to follow the crowd. I mean, there is no denying that The Last of Us is not only the best game of the year, but arguably one of the best games of the 7th console generation. A disease is broken out, causing people to turn into a type of zombie called clickers. They're wildly aggressive but can't see, so they use sound to find people to feast on. You play a man named Joel who's lost everything during the apocalypse, and down the road meets a girl named Ellie. Now, initially, a freedom fighter group called the Fireflies approached Joel to deliver Ellie to another chapter of their Firefire group, which was on the other other side of the country. It starts off as one big ass escort mission, but eventually he finds something to live for because he grows fond of her. Now during your travels across the US, you'll run into clickers, survivors, bandits, and more. The combat is nothing profound, but it's very refined. It honestly felt like Uncharted 3, which is no surprise since it's made by the same studio. I like the crafting system too, which it's live. You can't pause the game and craft when you need things, okay? You have to find a safe spot because a clicker will fuck you up. It added tension to the game, especially when supplies are low. The game is a pretty good difficulty as well. It's no cakewalk, and I enjoyed that the game's multiplayer was pretty good. I mean, it was a sleeper to be honest. Actually, it was really good. It takes that live weapon crafting system from the story and it applies it to a team deathmatch, okay? The lack of supplies adds a level of tension knowing that you can't just go Rambo and kill everybody on the other team, okay? You gotta craft shit, you gotta hide and all that bullshit. The game is pretty good looking for a PS3 game too, and this is the only game that came out this year while I was at work watching the clock thinking, damn, I can't wait to get home and play some more. That, folks, is the sign of a good game.